guys, and welcome to my final thoughts. If you guys have been keeping up with the channel here, you'll know that I've kind of been doing, like, I'm learning every role in the game, trying out every role, and hopefully increasing my understanding of the role. And, I wanted to take a minute to kind of go over that because I did play 5 matches in every role, which in the long and short of it is not very much, but I've kind of come to a bit more of an understanding. I was hoping I could like, I mean, I guess I could go to the store. Like, I wish you could switch it to like, okay, show. Oh, I wish you could switch it to like what role they're mainly in. But so during my time in the deep dark dive that I did, I've come to realize a couple things, and I said this at the end of, I think, the support, or at the beginning of the support, one of the two. Um, I think of all the roles that are in League of Legends, if I was not in jungle, I would more than likely go with the ADC role, specifically because ADCs generally are very, very aggressive, and I have a very aggressive play style. Like I played Senna in my final match as a support. I would definitely take Senna ADC. Um, I like Tristana. Tristana was a whole lot of fun. I just absolutely melted people with her. Um, and like Ash was one of the ones that I went with, and Kate, and I had the most fun there. Um, I understand now more about the CSing and like the difference between pushing the tower or pushing the wave and like letting the wave push into you and being pushed under tower and like all that other stuff. Um, but as far as like the bottom lane goes, I have a little bit more of an understanding, and I have this like kind of annoyance that kind of pops up. But this annoyance kind of pops up for every lane. And I'll go over it more generalized here in a second. But like when you're getting pushed under tower, a lot of the times you'll see the ADC or the support ping for assistance, right? But sometimes there's a combination of champions that you're always gonna get pushed under tower. Like even if you are the best in the world with them, you're just gonna be under tower. And the so I very strongly believe that your support should be able to engage. The engage from the support is gonna be monstrous to help change the way a fight goes. And if your jungle doesn't have any good way to lock anybody down, then the engage from the support can allow an opening for the jungle to come in and help get at least one, maybe two. So supports like, I don't know, Heimer. I know Heimer support was big at Worlds. Supports like, oh God, who was it? I like Pike as a support, although I think Pike is a little too strong for support. I don't like Ashe as support. Her slow helps a little bit, but I feel like it's a little iffy. I if you're gonna be a support, I want to see a way to stun the enemies, honestly, or hold them in place, right? Lux, I can still kind of see a Lux support. Kate Lux lane works really well. Um, but as far as like an ADC goes, like whenever I played Ashe, like I was pushed under tower a lot, but after a while, like Ashe starts to really open up, and like especially if you can get her Q procking, if you can sit there and just take a tower like it's nothing. And I did that in one of my matches, and it was really, really good. And like I played Tristana. Tristana, I got an early 2 kills, and like it felt really good. Like I was so excited. Let's pull up Tristana. I was so excited because like I just absolutely melted people with her, and as I started understanding how to use her more and how to use her kit, like it ended up being a really really bad game. I was getting farmed a lot under tower, but I still felt strong, which was really really nice. And I think that that's an important thing to really kind of keep in mind with like picking an ADC or picking anything really. Um is if you get pushed behind, are you still going to be viable? Like I like Ezreal. I'm not the greatest with Ezreal, but I think he's a good ADC. He has a lot of escape. He has a lot of movement. He has a lot of damage that he can output. Like it feels so good to play Ezreal, right? So like I kind of understand that, and even with being pushed under tower and everything else, I never once pinged my jungler because it's not my jungler's job to win my lane for me, right? And there were times where I was like, "Oh, come on, he's been under tower. I've been dying in my own tower this whole time." And this is for every lane. It's like I've been dying under tower the whole time. Jungler, come do something. And the thing that I think really really gets into people's heads a lot is like when you're in your lane, whatever lane you decide to go in, when you're in your lane, you're not paying as much attention to the rest of the map. That was one thing that I started to realize. Like as a jungler, when I'm roaming through the jungle looking for plays and farming my camps, even though my camera is locked, my eyes are always on that mini map. I'm watching the ebb and flow of the match. And I'm watching like, oh, top lane is getting pushed in a little bit, but it's still like an even matchup. So we should be able to get a kill, or I should be able to burn some summoners, opening up for some kill potential in the future, right? Or bottom lane is hyper pushed. I'm not going to be able to do anything for there. Don't path towards bottom lane. And like when I was in lane, I never once looked at my mini map. And I think that's where there's a massive difference in champion, like from laning to jungling, is how much you look at the mini map. And even though I'm a jungle main, I was still seeing that I was calling for my jungle, but like my jungle was making plays on a different part of the map. Now sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, you know. We're not going to talk about that Jax in my last mid game because he's lucky that they surrendered because Yone could have ended up just dominating Jax right there. But you know, it is what it is, and I think that's one thing that I've come to realize is a lot of the times the laners don't look at their minimap, and if they do, it's because they're looking for their jungler and seeing if they're close so they can push the lane. And that brief second that they look at it, they might miss like the enemy jungles in was spotted in the river, or you know, someone pings like, "Hey, give me some assistance over here," and you know that's a pretty big deal. Obviously, it's something that can be worked on, and a lot of people can actually make it so that that doesn't happen. But especially in the elo that I'm in, that's one of the big things. Um, so as far as ADC and support, I like engaged supports. I like ADCs that can still have some carry potential even if they're set behind early. Um, so ADCs like Jin, ADCs like Senna, um, Caitlyn, Ashe, Ezreal, those kind of ADCs are really nice. I'm not huge on Sivir or MF right now. I feel like once they're behind, they really don't have any kind of utility. And I that's where like a lot of the problem comes into play. Kog'Maw is the same thing. Tristana, she has utility because of how fast she can take towers, but like if she's put behind, like it becomes tough. Like I won't lie. Um, as far as the top lane, we're gonna get into the saltiness of top lane. Top lane, you guys are fucking dumb as shit. Alright, I'm just gonna say it outright. I hate top lane. I will never ever return to top lane. For the longest time, I thought top lane was just like another mid lane. I was a mid laner before I became a jungler, and I was like, oh, top lane's gonna be the same thing. It's a one-on-one, just CS, do some dueling kind of deal, nothing major. But oh my god, is it obnoxious? I died more times in my own tower or in top lane in general than I think I did for the rest of like all of the other series. It was dumb. Like absolutely dumb. Ilaoi strong, Kled is Aatrox is way too broken. Like there's it was dumb. I hated it. Freaking Garen. Oh my god. I oh, this dude. Oh. Ugh. You know, but yeah, so like I absolutely hated the top lane. I did not have fun with it at all. Now, granted, I was going in with no knowledge of any of the champions that I was playing, or and like any mechanics of the top lane. I had never even tried top lane before, and I just didn't like it. There's so much more dueling up in the top lane. Um, Honestly, I feel like top lane you need to mechanically know your champions a lot better than any other lane because of how aggressive the top laners can be, especially people like Garen, like Jax, Olaf, any of those ones. They like to be aggressive. Darius, they want to be on top of you, and I just didn't have the mechanics. I didn't have the ability to be able to counter these plays because I didn't know my champions and I didn't know the lane. Like they were still getting amazing CS while smacking my ass and killing me constantly to the point where I was under tower and they would just jump in under tower, kill me, take the whole wave and then take the tower. Like what? Like it was incredible to see but very frustrating and I hated it. So, as far as like what I learned from it is top lane is left on an island on purpose. And if you're gonna be in top lane, I would say top lane is the second hardest role in the game. I would say jungling is the hardest role because of how many things you have to pay attention to at one time. And then I would say top lane is probably the second hardest. The reason for that is the the island that top laners are always put on, right? The big thing is like they're always kind of left to their own devices. They're always kind of left to do their own thing, and that's on purpose. If one top laner can mechanically outdo another top laner, usually that the enemy top lane that got outdone ends up just crumbling to dust, right? And so like if your top laner is having issues and you have them on their little island, you're like, "Oh, well, they're on an island, but they're having issues." If you go up and help them, like you need to be ready to like really fight. Like you can't just walk up there and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm here." Watch them flash and then walk away because that's what every other lane does, right? Top lane is not like that. They will be like, "Oh, look, there's the jungler." Just straight up just start nailing you in the face. It's ridiculous. And like I kind of already knew that, but like the turnaround that I saw with a lot of the different plays whenever I was trying to do anything in the top lane was ridiculous. So top lane definitely has the potential to completely tip the scales of the match. And I never appreciated that. I never even thought about that before. But top lane literally can tip the match. Um, so, it is what it is. And then, of course, the mid lane. I already knew a little bit about the mid lane. But, like, it's dumb. Listen, junglers out there, aspiring junglers out there, help your mid laners. Because that's, even though jungling and top lane are probably the hardest roles, the mid lane is the most important. And the reason for that is if you can open up your mid lane, if you can take that mid turret, then you like if you take mid turret by 14, by the time laning phase ends, you open yourself up to have so much strength going into the mid game for neutral objectives, for any kind of kill pressure, and you can just start opening up the map. As soon as that mid tower falls, like half of your map falls, 3/4 of your map falls, essentially. Vision starts getting placed in other people's jungles. You can walk to and from, and nobody even knows you're even there. Like, the mid lane is the most important lane, and I feel like if you can have a halfway decent mid laner and you can make sure that that lane doesn't crumble into dust and you can keep them on point and take the mid tower first, 9 times out of 10 your mid game is going to be 100% better than you ever thought it could have been if you just let them do their own thing. So like I kind of already knew that. Like I said, I played mid before I played jungle, and there's so many hyper carry champions in the mid lane. Yone is one of them. Yasuo, like if they get unlocked and they're halfway decent as far as like who's playing them, like it's just dumb. They can take over the entire game. They can 1v9. And that's where you kind of see a lot of your 1v9 champions come into play, like, is in the mid lane. Akali, Echo, Yone, Yasuo, Kiana, Silas, like, all of these champions are so powerful, and they're all played in the mid lane, and so you have to be very cautious of your mid lane matchup. And which is why a lot of people say the jungle mid duo, because the jungler has to help the mid lane the most. Even if your bottom lane is getting absolutely thrashed, they can still come back and do good. If your top lane is getting thrashed, they still have utility with tower taking. If your mid lane is getting thrashed, you're essentially making the game into a 4v5 if you don't help them. And that is a massive, massive downfall. So that's kind of the things that I learned. I never went into these series with the idea that I'm gonna become really good at them or really efficient at them or be like the best that I could be in the role, right? But I went into it because I wanted to understand and be able to appreciate what's going on in those roles a little bit more as a jungler. Um, I was reminded time and time again of why I picked up the jungle. I see so many junglers who just make so many dumb plays. No, I've had junglers who just don't even go to the neutrals. They just let the other team get the neutrals. So by the time 15 minutes comes around, they're on soul point and we haven't even taken a Rift Herald yet, and it's ridiculous. So I hope this was enlightening to you guys. It was very enlightening to me. Um, I would like to say I enjoyed this experience, but it made me realize why I want to be in the jungle some more. So, thank you guys so much for watching these series. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Let me know if there's any other things that you would like to see me do down in the comments below. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I will see all of you guys next time. Bye, guys!